What's happening, family? Back in the garage, back on the Chevelle. All right, you guys know I dropped a short with a photo of a frame brace kit. The frame brace kit that I decided to go with was a Summit Racing frame brace kit for the 68 through 72 Chevelle. My reasoning for wanting to install a frame brace kit and really make it the first modification I did to the car is because I just feel like the Chevelle frames leave a lot to be desired, right? Chevelle frames for hardtop or C channels, right? Chevelle frames for a convertible is they took that C channel and they placed a cap over the top of it. Now, they didn't do a flat cap. They did a cap that has an angle on it, right? And I guess they were thinking that that angle would provide even more strength to the chassis. And it does, but it's just not as strong as what we're used to driving modern vehicles, right? And I wanted to make that chassis as strong as possible, um, without upgrading to a full roaster chop chassis or a Morrison chassis or whatever, right? So I was like, I'm gonna do what I can do, trying to be as resourceful as I can. So, my choice for that Summit Racing kit was the fact that it would fit a convertible. There's not a lot of videos out there. There's no videos out there that show the installation of one of these kits on a convertible, and there's very few pictures that you could find. In doing my research, I was told by several people that those kits wouldn't even fit a convertible. So there's a little bit of misinformation out there on the internet, so be careful. But hence the reason why I'm doing this video. Um, as far as installation goes, or as far as what this video is and what this video is not, this video is not a full installation video that goes from A to Z, all the things required and whatever, what all you need, right? Because there's several videos out there that show everything that's required. Mainly what this video is just to talk about the differences, right? Some of the things that you need to keep in mind, when dealing with a convertible versus a hardtop frame. Okay, so like I told you guys, Fast Money Garage did a video and Coverman66 did a video. And just real quick with Coverman66, I texted that brother on Instagram and said, hey, can you help me out? I've got some questions. And he called me back on a Sunday. Talked to me for over an hour on the phone. We chopped it up like we've been friends for 10 years. Man, I truly appreciate that dude, man. Really, 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 really appreciate that guy. One of a kind. So I learned a ton of stuff from him. Now, Fast Money Garage did an installation video, and his video was a running and driving car. So his video is super informative, right? Now, one thing that he did that I disagree with is, and he had his reasons, and I want to say with you guys, if you're gonna do this, just realize you're gonna have to modify this frame brace kit to fit your car. Um, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? So whatever modification you have to do, you got to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's your car. You'll live with that modification. All right. So the frame brace kit has on the front and rear of the side rails has a foot on it that helps to locate where that kit goes, right? And those feet go around the mounting, where your mount bolt goes, right? So what Fast Money Garage did is he decided to cut those feet off front and rear because he wanted to raise the bars up a little bit higher into his frame. And by him doing that, he killed a lot of the rigidity that those feet would provide for the bars, right? Now he had his reasons for doing it, but he even said in his video that he could move the bars around whenever he did that. So that's something that I would not recommend. I show you guys that in the video. I just don't do a real good job of explaining it. Here's the other thing. There's two things that I wish I would have done better. And one is the convertible frames. I told you guys are at an angle. I should have cut the inner braces, a transmission brace and a support tube at that angle. Had I did that, I wouldn't have, like right now with it welded and everything, there's a gap. Now, once I take the body off the frame, I'll be able to fix that gap, but I can deal with the gap right now. But if I had to do it all over again, I would cut those at the angle and wouldn't have to worry about a gap being there at all. All right. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about is the rear cross member. That rear cross member, um, if you're gonna install that with the body on the frame, I would take your drive shaft out. If the drive shaft, so I would either take your drive shaft out or I would make sure the suspension is fully supported. In the video, you guys see the car is up on jack stands. It's completely level, but the suspension was not supported. And because it was not supported, it was at full droop. So what we ended up having to do with that rear cross member, in order for it to fit with the drive shaft at full droop, we had to end up cutting it in half. So that rear cross member is approximately 12 inches wide. We had to cut it down to like 5 inches. And that would not have been required had the if that drive shaft wasn't installed or the suspension being fully supported. Right. So those are the things I just wanted to point out, since, you know what I'm saying, I've already installed the kit. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Please ask any questions you have, and let's get into it.
All right, guys, today's the day. We're gonna put on the Summit Racing frame brace kit. We got the car high up on these industrial jacks that weigh about 10,000 pounds. You can see we've got the kit all laid out right here. So we got the car up on jack stands. These are some custom jacks that are not custom jacks, but these are Amazon jack stands. They're bought on Amazon. They're rated for 10,000 pounds at a corner. So you see we got all 4 of them underneath. We have it up. We measured it to make sure it was level. It's level both horizontally and in both directions, right? Going straight up the frame that way and then going across the frame. It's level, right? We use shims underneath the jacks to get the body level. And it's measured out pretty good. We're prepping the actual braces to weld up right now. We're making sure they're gonna fit. And because this is a convertible frame, we're gonna have to do some custom, probably notching, especially the round tube on the actual brace, so that it'll weld up here better. But we've got to cut it to fit first, just to make sure. But what we'll probably end up doing is on this pipe right here, notching that out so that it'll weld better on the frame. But we just got to make sure and check the fitment first. All right, guys, day 2 of putting in this Summit Racing frame brace kit. So we're working on the driver's side right now, and if you guys are going to do this, the lines with the body on the car, the lines are your biggest headache. So you've got your brake lines and you've got your emergency brake cable. That's the main 2 things, right? And with this being a convertible frame, all the videos show standard C-channel frame C-channel cars. Well, this is a convertible frame, and as you guys, it's not built the same way. So you don't have that traditional C-channel like you do on hardtops, right? And this one's kind of at an angle too, so that makes it a little bit of a challenge. But your emergency brake cable came through this hole right here, right? So went ahead and cut that and just got it out of the way completely. We're gonna start mocking this up. I will say that with the frame brace kit, you have to do a lot of trimming of that support piece. This support piece here is gonna have to be cut back quite a bit to fit that guy, and then that tube there. It's really long anyway, but both of those will have to be cut back quite a bit in order to get that to fully close into the frame. As I get more done, I'll keep you guys updated. All right, guys, we're almost ready to start fitting everything. We still got some cleaning and prepping of the metal surfaces to do, but we're almost ready to fit everything. I want to point a couple things out though. when you're doing a Summit Racing frame kit body on frame, here's some of the things that you got to think about, right? First, you have to think about your emergency brake cables. Those things are a pain in the butt. What I did was I just cut them off because I wasn't using them anyway. Eventually, we'll see where we go with the car. I'll probably reinstall them, but they just become a headache as far as when you want to place the braces and put them into place. So let me show you guys on the car. Once you locate, right, so your braces are gonna locate. So basically what they're telling you on the kit, on the bottom, they'll locate up against this hole, and then they're gonna basically install right here, right? So this hole right here is for your emergency brake cable, right? Which I just simply cut that off, and that's that guy right there. Now, the second thing I would like to point out is if you're doing this body on the frame is your brake lines. So what I ended up doing was just taking a loose everything. So hopefully you guys can see it all. So I unbolted the cylinder there, right? Unbolted all the brake lines, even going to the passenger side to give me the wiggle space, right? Even the transmission selector, I unbolted that as well to give me the space to move the brake lines up and out of the way so that we could weld on the frame bracing kit, right? So that way we can locate it and weld it on. And like I said, with this being a convertible frame, you guys can see it's not flat like a C-channel would be coming into here. So we're gonna have to make some extensive cuts when it comes to that. So back here in the back, and you guys can see that, but so the emergency brake cable ran through that hole on the top right there. We removed that and clearance that on both sides, so we're good there. The only other thing I'd like to point out is that fuel line. We're just gonna bend it up out of the way when it comes time, and we'll see what we need to do over here. I don't think it's gonna be an issue, but we'll see. But right now we're just gonna clean everything up, right? And clean everything up, and then we'll go to trimming. So I'll come back then. All right, guys, here's what we got. So everything's clamped in position. We're marking the areas where we need to grind to clear everything out. And we used a bolt to hold it in position while we could measure everything up. We're gonna have to end up lowering the front, I think, a little bit to get our piece to line up with the edge of the rail. But we're getting there. Mr. Macy going to work right now. So everything's in there, it's finished, it's fit, and now we're just welding it in. All right, guys, last thing I wanted to point out, when you're placing this kit, if you line this up with the bottom of your frame rail, which is what you're supposed to, because this locates off of this bushing mount hole, right? Your transmission cross member here is going to be higher, because this is on a convertible frame. It's going to be higher than the top of your frame. Hopefully you guys can see that. I know it's dark, it's a little bit dark, but it's going to be high on the top of the frame. If you're trying to line that up with the top of the frame, you're going to end up doing it wrong, and this is going to be too low. Right now, if we look at the car from the side, you'll see it doesn't hang below the frame rails. If you try to lower it to make that transmission jack equal with the frame rail, you're going to have your frame bracing kit hanging below the edge of your frame where it's not supposed to be. So that's just one of the other tips. All right, guys, after 3 days, well, 2.5 days, it's finally done. So let's take a look. You guys can see welded here. Come on down. It's welded here. Then of course we got it welded in the back. Now, since we did this with body on, we weren't able to weld the very tops on any of these bars, right? So that's something to keep in mind if you guys want to do body on. Also, with body on, there's a couple things that are taken for granted when it comes to doing this on a convertible. Because this kit, I'm pretty sure, was mocked up on a hard top. There's some differences when it comes to a convertible, right? Because on the Summit instructions,
we'll get over here and put a little bit more light back here to show you guys. But when it comes to doing this, right, so you're gonna have to trim these bars. And if you guys can look at the Summit kit versus looking at what I have, you see these bars are a good bit shorter, and that's because you have to trim those bars quite a bit. And the way you it's super hard to cut them completely straight, but don't get wrapped around the axle there, right? You want to make sure that everything is level and that it measures straight, in which this kit is level and it measures straight, right? So like I said, you would trim this here, right, to be able to get that closer in, and that's what they tell you with your instructions. But you only want to go so far, or you start to change the design of how this frame bracing kit is. So let's talk about this back here in the back, right? So this rear cross tube member had to be heavily modified in order to fit the convertible. Because what we were trying to do with this is we were trying to get it on the straight side of the tubing right here. I've seen people weld it back here at the bend, and if you do that, you're gonna cause clearance with your drive shaft. Like right now, my drive shaft is drooped because the suspension isn't supported, and we have clearance here. So it doesn't matter how we jack the car up, we should never have any clearance issues with that, the rear mount. But with this rear mount, Mr. Tim Magic Man worked his magic on that and was able to get it where it needed to be. But if you compare this picture right here to the factory one, you can see it's cut back quite a bit. But if you look at the clearance there, we have plenty of clearance there, plenty of clearance there for the floor pans. So the floor pans are completely clearanced, and like I said, the suspension is at full droop and there's no contact. So once we put the weight on the actual wheels, or once the car is on the ground, we should have plenty of drive shaft clearance, so it should never be an issue. Shouts out to Mr. Tim Macy for helping me with this whole project. His patience and his skills. He's been doing this for 35 years. So truly appreciate it. But it all came together. A lot of trial and error, a lot of fitting, right? If you're gonna do this with the body on, have a plan for your brake lines, because as you guys can see, some of them are below, some of them are running above, and we had to do that in order to get this to fit without completely removing them. Same thing with your fuel line, right? So I basically had to disconnect it and run the whole thing below it. So we're gonna have to do something with this, but we were able to get it all in. You guys got any questions? I tried to cover everything. I didn't cover all of it because you have the videos from HPI, and then Summit just did a video recently. But like I said, I'm super happy with it. I wanted to do it on a running and driving car, which this is. I will update this video series with a drive.
What you need for your car?
My damn motor.
Hey!
Private spoon food.